Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Vinod, who came before. I'm speaking about the Sikh tradition, and this is a lesser-known religious tradition, unfortunately, because it's a beautiful tradition, and it's a beautiful community. As we think about evangelism to Sikhs, I want to discuss a couple of challenges and realities, and a couple of signs of hope and possibility. Before I continue, let me pause at the start of this to note what is perhaps obvious, that Sikhs and others that we discuss at this conference are listening. In fact, I know there are Sikhs listening because I've invited them. So to my Sikh friends, welcome, and I hope we can continue some dialogue around these conversations. I've begun some dialogue, and I've talked with friends, Sikh friends, around some of the concepts and things that I'm talking about in this article. So I think this is a part for us to just realize that as we discuss evangelism, or really any other topic, we have to remember that there are others that are listening. Hopefully we're asking them and inviting them into the conversation as well in various ways. Okay, so two challenges or realities. The first regards the fact that many Sikhs, like others, view Christian evangelism as a threat. Now, this may not be new, but it is important for us to remember and understand how evangelism is received by communities who have been historically minoritized or have had less power than dominant communities, including Christian communities, around them. This was made clear last June, 2023, when in London, the London Sikh community came to know about a planned consultation on Christian ministry to Sikhs. The consultation was to be held at a Baptist church in a borough of London, and it was hosted by various groups, including two groups of the Lausanne movement. The promotional flyer was actually in many ways quite moderate, as evangelical Christian flyers can go. It didn't use some of more of the inflammatory language of targeting or strategy or these sorts of things. Nonetheless, several days before the consultation, some in the Sikh community, including a local Sikh leader, started to post comments and concerns in social media. One borough councillor, Sikh borough councillor, wrote, "All individuals, quote, all individuals, regardless of their faith, should have the freedom to practice their religion without fear of coercion or undue influence from external sources," unquote. So his implied concern, of course, was that the conference would stoke Christian fears about Sikhs and would promote strategies of coercion. In light of the Sikhs' concerns and the lack of time for the church and the organizers to address them, the consultation leaders decided to cancel the event. It is interesting to me how in the following days, some Sikh journalists reflected on the event. In particular, it was interesting how some connected the modern-day Christian evangelism of Sikhs to the 19th century and 20th century missionary work among poor Sikh communities in Punjab, India. One Sikh journalist wrote, quote, "There is a long history of Christian missionaries acting in a predatory fashion, targeting those perceived as vulnerable, promising them miracles and sometimes even money. In the UK, such Christian conversion events prey on insecurities minority communities like Sikhs can have, which can stem from being the other whilst living in a Christian country," unquote. Now, there's not time here to discuss the long and the ongoing debate regarding if or how Christian missionaries in India and elsewhere coerced poor and low-caste Hindus and Sikhs with promises of money, healthcare, education, and if they continue to do that today. That's an ongoing conversation, and there's concerns and arguments to be made on both sides. My interest, though, is just to note how this is being used in this context. We can note that the way the Sikhs experience and talk about Christian evangelism goes through what I'm going to call the Sikh persecution narrative. Now, much has been written on the importance of persecution and persecution narratives in the formation of the Sikh identity. Indeed, a lot of religions, this forms an important part sometimes. And it's certainly the case that for Sikhs, from its early years, the communities were threatened by various forces. This could take concrete form in the 17th and the 18th centuries, in their battles against the Mughals. In the 19th century, their battles against Afghan and then British forces. And these stories get retold. They're often told in Sikh communities in all sorts of various ways. But the stories that they recount are not only those of past centuries, but also of recent years. They recount stories such as Operation Blue Star, which was a 1984 assault by the Indian government forces on the Harmandir Sahib, or the Golden Temple. It was an attack that resulted in the death of Sikh separatists and extensive damage to one of their most revered sites. They tell stories regarding the 2020 farm bills that were passed by the Indian Parliament that negatively targeted, or at least deeply impacted, the ability of Punjabi and Sikh farmers to make a living. They also tell stories that extend beyond the Punjab in India, such as the recent shooting of Hardeep Singh Nijjar in the city of Surrey in British Columbia, Canada. Nijjar was an outspoken critic of the Indian government. He was an activist for the creation of a separate Sikh state. And when he was shot last June 18th, 2023, Sikhs immediately began to suspect and accuse the Indian government of an execution. But Sikhs are aware that not only are there political threats and stories to tell about that, but the threats come from religious groups as well. Whether it was the Hindu or Muslim or Christian missionaries that sought to convert Sikhs in the 19th and 20th centuries, or modern-day Christian evangelism programs, Sikhs are mindful of the initiatives that, in their mind, are seeking to replace or destroy their invaluable cultural and religious practices and identities. And this is a dynamic that we need to keep in mind in our evangelism. Christian evangelism can, without our awareness, be received by the Sikh community as yet another strategy to dominate them. The gospel can be seen not as good news, but as threatening news. So this relates to the second challenge. Christian expectations, or even requirements, that Sikhs give up their Sikh identity, or even important aspects of their identity in order to follow Christ. And I've written elsewhere about the desire of some to pursue ways of following Jesus while still relating to their Sikh community. Some of these have shared that in their understanding, the origins of Sikhism with Guru Nanak actually allowed for a wider range of faith expression than modern-day Sikhism has come to believe. And there's a whole parallel spirituality, actually, in Punjab, which I won't go into, called deras, which are similar to Hindu ashrams. These places where people can gather, and perhaps at the feet of a guru, and they listen to his teaching. And sometimes they have some Hindu influence, sometimes they have their Sikh influence, but they're sort of a parallel movement. And for many Christ followers, they see perhaps what they're doing is trying to fit within this liminal space between communities that deras sometimes represent. Whether they try to identify as followers of Christ, whether they try to identify as Sikh or simply retain many Sikh practices, they are resisting some of the pressure that they can feel that separates Christ and Sikhism. For example, many Christ followers continue to wear a turban and the kara, or the steel bangle. And these, of course, are very important symbols in Sikhism, and they're important symbols of community and identity. Some may prefer styles of worship that feel similar to a Sikh temple or dera, sitting on the floor while listening quietly to music and the teaching. For Sikhs, at least here in my context in California, United States, many of our churches, and including many Indian churches, do not at all feel right to Sikhs. I remember welcoming a Sikh family into an evangelical Christmas church service in my city in California. They walked into the lobby and I welcomed them in. And I sat next to them and I viewed the service through their eyes and I became aware of just how strange and unspiritual it all must have seemed to them. I'm sure that in their eyes, our service resembled an interactive concert show, not a place where God was revered and worshiped. And in light of this, I wasn't completely surprised when they got up and left halfway through the service. My point here is that in our evangelism, we need to remember the importance of Sikh identity and spirituality, and to be open to how Christ followers may want to integrate their faith in Christ with their Sikh tradition and practices. Thinking on Dr. Duerksen's presentation yesterday, I wonder whether this impulse is one that wants to in part counter the narrative that following Christ destroys one's identity and tradition and community. More than that, I think what they are seeking to do deconstructs and then reconstructs our whole modern framework of comparative religions, which quickly becomes not just comparative religions, but competitive religions. So how do we maintain an evangelism that resists this, that resists the narrative and the pressure of competition, and is attentive to the threats that people feel and doesn't find Sikh identity and spirituality threatening? Well, I do think there are signs of hope and signs of possibility. One, just to note, is that within Punjab particularly, there's been an increased attentiveness to the role and the work of the Holy Spirit, as often displayed through Pentecostal spirituality. Over the last 20 years, Pentecostal-style churches in the Punjab have exploded. They've grown and multiplied dramatically. In fact, in November of this last year, in 2022, one of India's most prominent English language magazines, India Today, ran a cover story called Pastors of Punjab. Some of my friends were profiled in this, and also profiling numerous mega church and small village pastors. Now, these churches have become large. They have gatherings in the multiple thousands, but then there's also these thousands of smaller churches with their pastors that have begun to multiply throughout Punjab. And many of these share a Pentecostal emphasis on prayer, on miracles, through spiritually powerful leaders. And interestingly, Sikhs from all castes and across the Punjab and elsewhere have been attracted and open to the supernatural displays of spiritual power. After all, Sikhism itself is drawn and is in part very much animated by a mystical, heartfelt devotion. So we shouldn't be surprised when such mystical devotion is attractive to them, and even when it might include Jesus. I remember one time back here again in my city in California, speaking to and listening to an elderly Sikh woman who was sharing with me all of a sudden one story, and just kind of came up in the midst of our conversation, almost as a little aside, of how one day she was praying in her house and she had a vision of Jesus standing in front of her, and he looked at her in a warm and a peaceful way, and then he looked in the direction of their Sikh temple, and that was the end of the vision. Now, I'm not exactly sure, and I wasn't exactly sure what to do with that, but there was no question that this, in her mind, was Jesus. He was something of a guru who chose to appear to her and give her assurance and peace through his presence. So spirituality and even evangelism that is open and comfortable with supernatural visions, with miracles, experiences these are things that resonate deeply and are very attractive to Sikhs. As I conclude, my hope, I'm sure like perhaps many Christians, is that Sikhs would see through Christians, through us, a compelling vision of Jesus. That Sikhs would perhaps even gain a desire to learn more and to follow Jesus. How do we do this? I can only speak to my context here in California and the United States, where perhaps we as Christians could find ways to bring down the barriers of fear and threat. Perhaps we can more intentionally pursue interfaith collaborations and become allies and even advocates of Sikhs. What would it look like for Christians to actively seek the health of the Sikh community and advocate for them? What would it look like to show an interest in them, to their gurdwaras, to the study of their holy scriptures, the Guru Granth Sahib, and to learn about what they find meaningful about their faith? To begin there, listening and taking interest in them. Maybe experiment with ways to express our faith and devotion to Christ in ways that make sense to Sikhs and not just an interactive concert. We would hopefully do these things not so we could eventually convert them to our religion, reflecting this competitive religion paradigm, but rather we would do this because the good news challenges such constructs. We would share our faith verbally and in action, but not coercively. And we would maintain our friendship and allyship no matter how our Sikh friends respond. We could and should offer to pray with them, even praying for God to do miracles in their lives. We could share meaningful scriptures with them, even as we ask them to share with us scriptures that are meaningful to them. We would listen as our Sikh friends share with us in whatever passionate and compelling ways they have to what they find meaningful in their Sikh tradition. There should be space in good relationships for speech that seeks to persuade, and it should be mutual. So there are many other topics we could explore, but from what I've focused on, I hope to have put a small spotlight on the ways that evangelism has often created mistrust in the past, and how open, patient, loving friendships, perhaps what we sometimes call friendship evangelism, can be a powerful way to challenge the paradigms of competition and threat, and will hopefully help rebuild trust while also presenting a compelling expression of what it means to follow Christ. Thank you.